I'd like to thank the members of the Academy for honoring my fellow nominees and myself. This moment means more to me than words can explain, because it comes from a role guided by my father's hand. For decades, Anjelica Huston was admired as the image of strength, poise, and elegance. From the outside, her life appeared blessed with privilege and artistry. But behind the glamour was a story shaped by emotional distance, loss, betrayal, and quiet endurance. At 74, she has begun to speak more openly, and what emerges is not a fairy tale, but the portrait of a woman who survived what many never saw. Anjelica Huston was born on July 8, 1951, to legendary director John Huston and celebrated ballerina Enrica Soma. Though her name carried prestige, her earliest days were marked by absence. When she was born, her father was thousands of miles away in Uganda, immersed in a film shoot. Days passed before the news reached him, and when it did, his response was distant. That emotional gap became a pattern that shaped Anjelica's understanding of love and belonging. Before she was even a year old, her family fractured further. Her father denied her mother a role in Moulin Rouge, then began a relationship with the woman cast instead. Long disappearances and repeated betrayals followed, leaving Enrica emotionally devastated. In 1960, she moved Anjelica and her brother Tony from Ireland to London, trying to create stability. But complications continued. John Huston's romances never slowed, and Enrica later became involved with a married man, giving birth to Anjelica's half-sister, Allegra, in 1964. Anjelica adored Allegra instantly, forming a bond that would become deeply protective and enduring. While still a student, Anjelica was offered what seemed like a dream opportunity. A film adaptation of Romeo and Juliet was scouting at her school. For a moment, the future felt wide open. But her father intervened, insisting that if she acted, it would be under his direction. That decision led to A Walk with Love and Death in 1969. Instead of launching her career, the experience left her emotionally drained. Critics were harsh, and the disappointment lingered. Directionless, she drifted through school, skipping classes while her mother remained consumed by her own heartbreak. Then came the night that shattered everything. Anjelica was awakened by a family friend who delivered the unthinkable news. Her mother had died in a car accident in France. She was only 39. Grief pushed Anjelica to New York, where life changed almost overnight. Harper's Bazaar booked her for a photo shoot, pairing her with photographer Bob Richardson. Charismatic and intense, he promised devotion and escape. Still reeling from loss, Anjelica was drawn in, unaware of the instability beneath his charm. At just 18, she found herself in a relationship defined by imbalance. Richardson was 42, struggling with addiction and emotional volatility. What initially felt like protection slowly became control. His temper surfaced in alarming ways, including moments of destruction and rage. As Anjelica's modeling and acting opportunities grew, the cracks widened. The breaking point came during a trip to Mexico when, after a quiet moment with her father, Richardson exploded in fury and lashed out. The message was clear. When they returned to Los Angeles, Anjelica left him, ending 3 years of fear and finding refuge at her father's partner's home, surrounded by calm, nature, and silence. Not long after, she received an invitation to a party hosted by Jack Nicholson. Emotionally bruised but curious, she attended. Their connection formed quickly but was unstable from the beginning. Both careers were rising, forcing time apart. Just days after Anjelica left for London, a friend confessed to being with Jack. Though he talked his way through it, trust never fully returned. His affairs continued, and Anjelica endured them while trying to rebuild her confidence and sense of self. By 1976, the relationship fractured completely. While Jack traveled carefree with friends, Anjelica remained in Los Angeles, emotionally adrift. At a party, she met Ryan O'Neal, intense and troubled. When Jack returned, she confessed she was leaving. What followed with O'Neal became one of the darkest chapters of her life. She later described it as living with two different people. Moments of charm were followed by sudden violence. One night, After being struck at a party, she locked herself in a bathroom, terrified. With no adult guidance to trust, she turned to her 13-year-old half-sister Allegra, who offered a simple truth: leave. Disillusioned, Anjelica stepped away from film for 5 years. When director Bob Rafelson later offered her a role in The Postman Always Rings Twice, she accepted, partly drawn by unresolved attachment to Jack Nicholson. But before reflection could settle, a serious car accident changed everything. Thrown into a windshield without a seatbelt, she required surgery to repair her face. The pain was immense, but the realization sharper. She had spent too much of her life waiting. Approaching her 30s, Anjelica turned inward. She studied, took smaller roles, and worked without leaning on famous names. Then came Prizzi's honor. The offer was complicated. Her father would direct. Jack would co-star. She hesitated, then agreed, only to be insulted during salary negotiations, told she had no real talent and was there because of who surrounded her. Instead of retreating, she stayed. She proved herself. Out of 8 nominations, only 1 became a win, and it was hers. When her name was called, she ran not to the press, but to her father. Tears streamed down his face as she thanked him, not as a director, but as a parent. In the years that followed, John Huston poured his remaining strength into The Dead, written by Anjelica's brother Tony. Despite failing health, oxygen tanks nearby, the family brought the film to life. Watching her father fade while directing took a physical toll on Anjelica. Soon after the film's completion, he worsened. She visited daily, promising to return one night, only to learn he passed before morning. He was 81. Though distant in her early years, his loss left her unmoored. By 1990, her long relationship with Jack Nicholson quietly ended. Seeking space, Anjelica traveled to Cannes as a juror, where attention followed, including a brief, charming encounter with Prince Albert of Monaco. But it was a quiet introduction to sculptor Robert Graham that changed everything. With him, love felt steady for the first time. Around the same time, her career found new energy. She accepted the role she had dreamed of since childhood, Morticia Addams. The elegance came with physical discomfort and exhaustion, but the result became timeless. The Addams family etched her permanently into pop culture. In 1992, during a trip to Ireland, Robert proposed. They married, and Anjelica believed she had found something lasting. Only later did she confront a truth she had long avoided. Doctors diagnosed her with endometriosis and told her becoming a mother was unlikely. She and Robert pursued treatments with hope, but the outcome never changed. It was a private grief she carried quietly. The 1990s became a period of steady work and creative freedom. She directed, acted, and built a career on her own terms. Yet challenges remained. On the Royal Tenenbaums,